right, last page, and these are the big angle ones, so you may still have questions on these tomorrow because it's kind of hard to explain without visually showing you a lump, but I'll do my best. So what I think the best thing to do with these is to pay attention to one angle at a time that you know. So what I would do is I would pay attention to the 65 right here first, and I'm going to draw that little V-shaped thing there, right? Oops, it's magically showing up. Uh-oh. All right, got the little arrow fixed. All right, so I'm going to show you how I can move 65 down here, because those are corresponding. Remember, it's like levels. Now, I cannot move the 65 down here, though, because these two lines are not quite parallel. They're slightly slanted. So eventually they'll meet, so they aren't parallel. So I can't move it down there. All right, so now I need to say, all right, I can move it to the side now. So these lines, K and L, are parallel, so I can slide it all the way down until I get right there. Now, even though it doesn't ask me to find that angle, I'm still going to write it in because it may help me later. And I'm going to keep moving along the line, and it also can go there because J, K, and L are all parallel. So that's all corresponding. Right, now I can also shift it down here again, and even though it doesn't ask me to find that angle, I'm going to write it in. But again, I can't go down one more because those two lines aren't parallel, so you see how it doesn't match up quite. Right, and now I'm going to follow this parallel line all the way down till I get to there. That's also 65. Again, it doesn't ask me to find it, but I've now just put 65 everywhere using corresponding. So I traveled all along this line, all along this line, and all along that line because they're parallel. All right, so that helps me out a little bit, and I'm going to fill in my verticals even though they don't ask me to find it. There's 65. Oh, I found one. Angle 9 is 65 because those two are vertical. This one is vertical. And I'm going to fill in that one just for the fun of it. And that means this one is also 65. Right? The next thing I'm going to tackle is angle 8 because these two lie on a line, so they have to add to 180, which means angle 8 has to be 115. Now, I'm going to do that same thing with 115. Put it everywhere it can go. So, I'm going to slide along this line. There's where another 115 can go. Slide back. And I go up here. And that doesn't really help me because I now have two angles there. But I could shift up. And it doesn't ask me to find it. And another way I could find that is that's also a linear pair. So I know that one. Right, I'm going to slide over. Oh, I found another one. Angle 4 is 115. And that's because it's corresponding. Right? And I have one more if I slide along the line right there. All right, so I've filled in all those now. I've gotten a good start. Really only found about 4 angles that it's asked me to, if that. But I'm getting somewhere. Now I'm going to fill in all my vertical angles with 115, even though it doesn't ask me. So I'm going to write it there. Those are vertical. I'm going to write it there. Those two are vertical. I'm going to write it here. Those are vertical. And I'm going to write it here because those are vertical. Okay. Nope, one more. Right there. All right, so I've gotten all those in. I still haven't touched the 123 or the 93 yet. Okay. So I'm going to go to the 123. And I'm going to do what I do best and draw my little slider. So there's the angle 123. I'm going to shift that over to there. That's corresponding. And I'm going to shift it over to here. And this angle down here, right there. It's also. Now how that's helped me is, if I look over here, even though it doesn't ask me to find this angle, I'm going to find it because then I can do the same thing I did with the 123 with that angle. Notice this is a linear pair. So I'm going to do 180 minus 123, which gives me 57. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to do what I do best, make my little slider, and I'm going to transport that all the way over here. Uh-oh, now found angle 7 and angle 10 to both be 57. So I've gotten most of the bottom of my picture filled out. Now I got to start looking at angles 1, 2, and 3. I haven't touched that 93 yet, so here's what I'm going to do. These two lie on a line, so angle 1 and 93 have to add to 180. So 180 minus 93 is 87. Right, now the last thing I forgot, this angle and that angle's vertical, so I also know angle 2 is 65, because these two are vertical. Now, here's the trick. Even though I'm not asked to find this one, I'm going to find it. And notice I have a triangle there, which has to add to 180. So to find that angle, I'm going to go out here. I'm going to subtract 180. I'm going to subtract 87 and 65 from 180. Because I know it's got to add to that, and that's very bright. I apologize if you can't read that. It's 180 minus 87 minus 65. And you get that little angle right there to be 28. And the reason that's helpful is because I know those two are vertical angles, so I also know angle 3 is 28. Now I'm pretty much done. The last angle I have is number 5. And this one's a little bit tricky, but it goes with corresponding angles. Let me get a new color here. Use purple. All right, so if I look at that, I'm going to draw my little slider. Notice these two angles are parallel, and there's my transversal. I'm going to slide this down my transversal. And notice that angle 5 is corresponding with angle 3, so I now know my last angle has to be 28 degrees. Right, I hope that one helps. Again, you might still have questions because it's hard to visually show, but my suggestion is to pick one, spread it everywhere, even where it doesn't ask you to, and then see what you can find. All right, so now I'm going to do the very last one. Ooh, this one got a little large. There we go. Now this one doesn't have any letters, which means you have to just find as many as you can. So I'm going to start with the 90 degrees. And this is the trick to the whole problem. Put the 90 everywhere it can go. Okay, so draw my little slider. 90 can go down here. And since A and B are parallel, I can also slide it over here. 90 can go here. And 90, oops, I don't want to drag the 90. And it could also go there. This whole angle would have to be 90, but that's not really what it's asking to find, but I promise you that will help you later on, so let's just put it there. All right, now I'm going to find my verticals, 90, 90, 90. Now what's nice about 90 is once you get 190, these are a linear pair. Well, 180 minus 90 is just 90 again. So this whole little square all is 90. This whole square has all these 90 degrees around it. Now, in some of those cases, it's not really asking me to find that, but it will help me in the long run. Okay, so I'm going to erase the ones I really don't need. Do still want that one up. So. Okay. The next thing I'm going to look at is my vertical angles that I already know. And that's the next easiest. So, see this 41.1? That's vertical with this one, so that has to be 41.1. 25.4 has to be vertical with that one because they're across one, so that's 25.4. 70.8 is going to go here. Right? And I think I've covered all my verticals. All right. Now, here's where it gets a little bit tricky, and you can go multiple ways, right? So I'm not going to say this is the only way, but it's the way I would do it. Okay. So where do I want to go next? It's going to be easiest. I'm going to go up here because you guys like to look for linear pairs. These three angles all lie on a line. So the 90, the one we don't know, and the 70.8. So I'm going to do 180 minus 90 minus 70.8 and get that little guy in the middle here, this little one. Okay. So 180 minus 90 minus 70.8 gives me 19.2. So this little guy right here is 19.2. And now that gets me this one because it's vertical. So those two are vertical from each other. So that's 19.2. And how that helps me is I can now find this bottom one. But again, I could have found that bottom one again just by looking at linear pairs. That and the 109.2 lie on a line. So you would do 180 minus 109.2, which gives me 70.8. And that's interesting. That's the same as this one. Notice these two are alternate interior. But if you didn't see that, you could still find it using a linear pair. All right. So I've gotten that one taken care of. So I'm pretty much good with this little quadrant over here. I'm going to now make my way to the 41.1 up there. So I see that angle, right? And I'm going to go all the way down the transversal until I see a corresponding angle. Oh, I found it. That one's going to be 41.1. Now what's special about that is that's now vertical with this one now. Oh, that's interesting. Those are the same. Those are actually alternate interior as well. But again, if you didn't see that, it's fine. Now the key is I want to find what this angle is, which is the same as this angle up here. Well, I know that this whole angle here is 90 degrees because I have that little square written there. So I'm going to take 90 minus 41.1 to get this one. I think that's 48.9. So this angle right here, 48.9, again, alternate interior. So this one's also 48.9. Another way, okay, would be to slide down the transversal. A little messy up here. I'm going to erase that. Another way would be to slide down the transversal till you get down there. And that would also be 48.9. If you didn't see the alternate interior, and then you could get it by vertical, or you could just do vertical right there. All right, so I've got a good chunk of my stuff done. The last thing I need to find is this one up here, and then I'm pretty much on my merry way. So I'm going to go up here, and remember this one was also a 90, so I'm going to do 90 minus 25.4. And that will give me this little leftover guy there. So that's 64.6. Now I know this one because they're vertical. And I've got that whole quadrant up there filled out. I have two left, and the last two have to do with triangles. Oops. Here's one triangle. So I'm going to do 180 minus 90 minus 25.4, and that gives me this leftover guy down in the corner. Gives me 64.6. That's interesting. That must be alternate interior. Again, if you didn't see that, you have plenty of opportunities. The last one I need to find is this one down in the very bottom right corner. Notice a triangle. This one is 41.1 and the other one's 109.2. So I'm going to do 180 minus 41.1 minus 109.2. And that leaves me with 29.7 for this little guy. And now I think I found most of the angles. If I missed a couple, that's fine. It's not a big deal. Oh, we know that one's 90. I think I erased it earlier. Right, again, you may still have questions on these, but again, break it up into problems that you can manage, and then look for linear pairs, corresponding, triangles. Alternate interior, the ones you guys tend not to see. There's usually another way you can get those, and if not, you really got to practice those, all right? So I'll see you tomorrow. I hope you get these questions answered.